I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, June the 7th, brought to you in part by Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. Having their regular sale here on Tuesday. Talked to Jeff Slatton, expecting a lighter run, about 1,500 head, but it's mostly all going to be loads of yearlings. Said they've got 7 to 8 loads of big 9-weight steers there coming off short wheat. They'll be in a good condition there with advantage to the buyer. I said about 6 loads of those 7-weight heifers, and they'll be in good condition too. But if you want to get on or watch that sale or view and bid that sale, get on to dvauction.com, look up Beaver County Stockyards and do that. Talked to Jeff there, and he said they've been mourning the passing of longtime field representative Ethon Labry, and he passed here in the last week or so, and he was a big advantage to Beaver County. He worked that country on the far western end of the Oklahoma Panhandle and down into eastern New Mexico. He lived in Clayton, New Mexico, where I grew up for many years, and I knew Ethon when I was a little kid, and I thought he was an old man then. And looking back and doing the math, I think he was about my age then, but I thought he was an old man. But he lived a long life and did a lot of different things, did ranch real estate and knew a lot of producers, and he got a lot of cattle into Beaver County Stockyards. They're going to miss him. It was Monday's turn to shine, and I talked about how your market really got hot last week from Wednesday on. So we knew that your Monday high volume feeder cattle auctions were going to be a bunch higher, and they were. They did not disappoint at all. Your board disappointed some. Took about $1.90 on the August feeder cattle off of that $7.50 it gained last week. But you know, just gaining that much ground the latter part of last week just gave everybody some renewed confidence. It allowed some of your backgrounders that had yearlings turned out to get an LRP or to get them hedged one way or the other, and kind of dally up to a foothold there that'll make them feel a lot better going out throughout the rest of the summer. And it just showed that it can happen, and it could happen again this week. We don't know, but you know, all your feeder cattle auctions are the trend comparisons are to the previous week. Well, last week your big Monday sales, especially Oklahoma City and Joplin, were closed for Memorial Day, so they couldn't have received any of that gain. Your Tuesday sales have not received it either. So your Tuesday auctions here today should also be sharply higher, just like last week your Wednesday through the end of the week sales were, and of course your Monday sales were too, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit. And why did your feeder cattle fail on Monday? Well, partly because it was up so much from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week, but also because your corn was higher, 15.5 cents on Monday, and that's just going to happen because you know, it's very volatile. But people are just looking at maps and seeing where there's not enough rain or where there's too much, and it's just going to hinge on your weather reports now. But also we did see that over the weekend that Vladimir Putin out of Russia there, he's not going to let any of that grain be exported out of Ukraine. We figured that was kind of a long shot anyway, and sure enough it is. You know, he wants those sanctions to be eased off or dropped on him and all these other countries that are upset with him over starting that big ruckus over there. They're not going to do it, and so he's not going to let that grain get out of that country of Ukraine. He's pretty much got control of it. So that was a boon to your corn market on your futures. At least on Monday it has been. But then late we saw your progress report. Your corn planted acres are now 94% complete. That's 2 percentage points more than your 5-year average. So you know, it can rain all at once now unless it washes it out. But that's what everybody was worried about with all the wetness that they were getting in the Midwest, is they weren't going to be able to get the rest of that report or rest of that crop planted. But with 94%, shoot, they're pretty much done. The emergence is sitting at 78%. Of course, it's been cool and rainy for the most part up there. You got to have sunshine for that emergence, but The 78% emerged this crop year compares to 81% your average of the last 5 years, which is pretty darn close there. But your after hours trading Monday evening was moderately lower after that report come out, because it didn't come out till well after your regular session board had closed. But let's look at your cattle board for Monday to open the week. June live cattle futures were down 77 cents at 132.82. That could prompt some basis jumpers here on Tuesday when they get those initial bids, which will likely be lower. But 132.82 is quite a ways off of last week's average, which was just over 138 in your 5-area feeding region. August live cattle down 95 cents at 132.90. Back months on live cattle down 77 to up 22, and the up 22 was on very light trading on your farthest out traded month. Feeder cattle contracts on CME, August was down $1.90 as I mentioned earlier, sitting at 171.97 on the close. September was down $1.75, ending the day at 174.55. Your back months on feeder cattle were all lower, from 85 cents to $1.45. Grains were higher, corn up 15.5 as I mentioned earlier, closing regular session trading at 742.5 cents a bushel. Your soybeans up 1.5 cents is all at 16.98 1/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat is so volatile, and it just has been. It's much more lightly traded than corn and beans, but I mean, it's just whips on one way and back the other. Last week, as I mentioned on our previous visit, it was down 114 for the week. Well, it gained 49 cents of that back just on Monday, up 49 cents, ending regular session trading at 11.70 a bushel for hard red winter wheat. Weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region, 70,700, just a sprinkle more than the previous week at 68,700, but quite a bit more than the same week a year ago, which was 56,200. Live sales of steers and heifers 134 to 143. Now we didn't have that through Thursday. They snuck some 134 in there, but there was only 75 head at 134. We hate to pull that range, that price range down a whole buck just for 75 head. And at the top end, 143, there was 1,152 head of steers and heifers that brought 143. But that 134 to 143 steer and heifer trade in your 5-area feeding region last week was $1 to $2 lower. It's a $9 spread as we continue to see big premiums paid in the Midwest and the Northern Plains. Part of that is because the Nebraska and Iowa cattle feeders still have some negotiating leverage on your packers. They've got better cattle, and the packers want those cattle because our grading is dropping. But also because of this fuel, because they can't go in there and pluck your best pens of Kansas cattle and truck them up into Nebraska and Iowa, because the freight will kill them there. But we have seen some of that, and they don't mind it being more than what they pay for the cattle, as long as they can keep the bulk of the cattle weighted average lower. Weighted average on live steers last week was 138.07, down $1 exactly. Your dress sales steers and heifers last week ranged from 214 to 226. Only 74 head of those at the low 214, and that was the lowest. That was the next closest was 219. So we shouldn't even count anything from 214 all the way up to 219. It was really 220 to 226. There was only a load at 219. But that's still $2 lower than last week. Your weighted average on dress steers, 221.89, down $2.10 compared to your dressed weighted average the previous week. Nationwide negotiated sales added up to be 84,400 head, and only 18% of those for the 15 to 30 day delivery. So I guess they're thinking here in another 2 to 4 weeks, they will have done everything they're going to do to try to kill this market going into these heavier offerings on the show list. But they've been really, really heavy, as much as half nearly on the 2 to 4 week delivery cattle, buying those nationwide negotiated, but this past week only 18%, only 15,600 out of that 84,400 were for 15 to 30-day delivery. That makes us feel a little bit better going forward that eventually we're going to be able to get some bottom under this thing, and it could happen this week if the board would happen to be higher on Tuesday morning here as it opens, and the guys would nut up a little bit and ask more for cattle, knowing that these packers need them because they are cranking up your chain speeds quite a bit. And we saw 125,000 just on Monday. That is an excellent start. Could be one of the biggest weeks of slaughter that we've seen for a long time. But 84,400 negotiated nationwide. Negotiated grid was just short of 40,000. Forward contracts were 27,100, and formula AMA sweetheart deals 239,400 head last week. Box beef cutout values were higher on Monday. Choice cuts up 232 at 269.58. Selects up $1.07 at 251.09. Talk about what else is going on. I know you guys hear my voice enough already. If you're regular listeners here to the Feeder Flash and you're interested in the markets and you keep up with this on a fairly regular basis, but I did do an interview on a podcast called Ranching Reboot with Brian Alexander, and you can find that Ranching Reboot podcast on most of your places where you go to get them, including Spotify is where I watch it, but talking about a lot of things that are active, factors that affect the market and different things like that. But it's a pretty long visit. You know, if you're on a long pickup ride and you don't get very good radio reception, you might want to do it then, but it's nearly a 2-hour visit there. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DB auction. Late in the day on Monday, sitting at 157.51. Up 51 cents compared to the close of last week. Your CME, I'd been talking late last week and on our first visit of this week that CME cash feeder cattle index was lagging way behind. And of course, it's always a day and a half to 2 days behind your real-time index. That's just normal. But the price was lagging way behind. Well, it launched because the latest we have available now was for Friday, and it gained $4.24 from Thursday's publication until Friday. Wow. But it caught up and went back and bounced over your real-time index there. But talk about your big sales on Monday, which we've kind of been talking about since we started this report. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City at 8,600 head compared to 2 weeks ago, because remember they didn't have a sale the previous Monday. Feeder steers $5 to $8 higher. Feeder heifers $6 to $12 higher. Steer calves $10 to $12 higher as drought has been relieved in much of Oklahoma, with just the very western end of the Oklahoma Panhandle having the worst drought that you can get, and the other parts starting to come out of it, which the eastern end of Oklahoma hasn't been too awful dry during any of this, but been getting good rains over in Oklahoma. Heifer calves $2 to $6 higher. Drop in regional stockyards, 9,600 head for their Monday sale. Also compared to 2 weeks ago. The feeder steers going right on to feed, and all of your heifers sold $4 to $8 higher. Steer calves were just steady, which they've been selling those pretty good. But my gosh, I saw some big quotes come out of Joplin on Monday, including these 92 head of 900-pound steers bring $158.50. How about some other individual quotes around the circuit? Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. Jack Harrison there, my friend, he had a really good sale, including 57 head, 591-pound steer calves, bring $205.50, weighing nearly 6 there. How about Sioux Falls Regional Livestock up in Worthing, South Dakota? They had a good sale, including 100 head of 958-pound steers, bring $159. And Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, and you say, whoa, they're on Thursday. Well, they took a month break there, but they still have their cow sale every Monday. Well, they're getting big runs of feeder cattle on cow sale day on Monday, and that happens sometimes whenever they're taking either harvest break or early summer break. But anyway, they had a pretty good feeder cattle auction on Monday in Salina, Kansas, including 67 head of 837-pound steers, bring 170.10. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, and for the area, for the location, and everything being considered, your National Beef Wire top quote for the day come out of extreme rural northwest Missouri, Tina Livestock in Tina, Missouri there. They get a lot of those cattle that used to go to St. Joe Stockyards before they closed. My old commission man, Dwayne Penny, a good buddy of mine there, he took his business over there, and he's there, and he's a master sorter. And his words, he used to take the coon shit that I brought him, and he would make a chicken salad out of it with his magic wand, his old wore out whip there. But good buddy of mine, Dwayne Penny there, but he's doing business at Tina Livestock. But they had the top quote for the day: 58 head, 851-pound steers, bring 168.75. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.